Hi guys, it's Marcy Fiorillo here, and today we are going to work through Chapter 6, Masks and Channels. So in this lesson you'll learn how to do the following: create a mask to remove a subject from a background, refine a mask to include complex edges, create a quick mask to make changes to a selected area, edit a mask using the Properties panel, manipulate an image using Puppet Warp, save a selection as an alpha channel, view a mask using the Channels panel, and load a channel as a selection. You'll also learn how to isolate a channel to make specific changes to that image. I'm going to start off with just basically how to create a mask. So I'm working on a different file than what's in your text because I want you to have a chance to really work on that particular file. So here we have my image of my son in New York City again. And we are going to select him from his background using a mask. Now we've done this before just using the selection tools and cut him or copied and pasted him from there, but this is another way to do it, and you can nicely and neatly get him selected from the background. So the first thing we're going to do is make a quick selection of the object that we want to make a mask of, and I'm actually going to use the quick selection tool to do this. And I'm just going to drag it around the figure that I want to make a mask of, making sure that I get everything in my selection, and it's okay if I get more than what I need in my selection because I can go back in and edit those out later, but I want to make sure that I'm getting all of his sweatshirt in here, including down here at the bottom. Okay, so there is our selection of Jake. So now we need to make Jake into a mask. So in your layers window down at the bottom, about the third one over, is a button that says add a mask. So there you go, we have eliminated Jake from the background, but the background is still there. It's just hidden behind the mask. But as you can see, we got a ton of stuff that we really didn't want in our mask. So now we are going to need to refine it. So under Window, you want to open up your Properties window, and we want Jake to be up against a black background when we are editing. So you want to click on Mask Edge, and underneath this little thumbnail view there is a drop down window, and you can put it on black so that we can kind of see what we're doing a little bit better. Click off of it. So we're going to put in the following parameters. Leave everything else the same unless we say to move it. So we want to move the smooth slider to 15. You can either move the slider or you can type into the box. And we want the contrast to be at 40%. And we want the shift edge to be at -8. So I'm going to move the slider on this one and get it close enough. -9 is close enough. And with that, then we can now come in and edit what we've got going on here. I'm going to move this out of the way just a little bit. If you need to zoom in, there's a zoom in tool right here, and you can kind of get a little bit closer in on it. Move the hand tool to move around, and now we're going to edit this mask and get rid of all these little bumps. So click on the Refine tool, and basically you're just going to drag and erase those bits. So once you drag, it'll look like it's actually drawing, but if you let go, you'll see that it turns black. And so that is the part that's been edited out. And you just want to go in and get as smooth as an area around him as you can. Now there are going to be parts that don't go. Don't worry about those because we're going to look at that in just a minute to try to get those out of there. Sometimes if you go over it more than once, it will go out a little bit better. Let's go up here where we can drag. You just want to paint to erase these. And sometimes it takes a minute for your computer to catch up, by the way. I'm going to go down here and show you a little bit more down here. See how nice smooth edge it gets. To get rid of the extra stuff around him that didn't come off the first go around, you're going to have to experiment a little. And so you want to adjust some of these sliders and try different techniques. I like doing the marching ants for some reason. I don't know why. When I'm doing it, and just adjust some of the sliders and use your adjust radius tool and see what you can get. So that's erasing the blue. So I'm going to keep working on that. Maybe zoom in just a little so I can see it a little bit better until I can get down to his head. Now I don't want to go too close because I don't want to erase part of his head, so I want to just make sure I'm being real careful, getting just close enough to where it gets rid of the blue but leaves the edge of his sweatshirt intact. Remember, you can always hold down the space bar to use the hand tool and move your artwork around. That way you don't have to switch back and forth between the tools, although it is over here in your window as well. And just keep trying different things until you can get all these marching ants tightly fit around the object that you're trying to get rid of. And if you need to adjust some of these a little more and see what is happening with them, then go for it. Experiment. See what works for you. The key is to save once you get to a point where you like what you have so far and you don't want to start over if you mess it up. See how close this is getting without actually getting his hoodie. And again, I'm just clicking and dragging as if I'm using the paintbrush tool or the eraser tool to get rid of all these extra marching ants. And the marching ants are actually what is the mask. So what's contained within them is what you will get in your mask. So we want that as close to the actual object as possible. And again, if you can't get it, adjust some more settings over here until you can get as close as possible, because you want this to be as clean as possible. When you're satisfied with the mask around your object, then you can click OK. And there we have our mask of Jake. So now we've taken Jake and selected him from his background, and we can insert a different background into the layer beneath him, as I've done here with a desert scene. And now Jake is not in New York City, but he's in the desert.